Welcome everyone to the news itself. Each week we dive into the wonderful and enriched world of the internet to see what people are posting about. I'm McKenzie Beeby. This week, did you see how incredibly badass Matt Damon was in The Martian?
So I gotta make water and grow food on a planet where nothing grows. But if I can't figure out a way to make contact with NASA, then none of this matters anyway.
He's so badass. Okay, so how close are we to actually getting humans to Mars? In case you have been living under a rock recently, using NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, researchers detected traits of hydrated minerals on slopes where mysterious streaks were found. Basically, running water was found on Mars, which shouldn't come as a surprise considering it seems like every year we discover water on Mars. And as you may know, Mars is the only other planet in our solar system with the closest conditions of Earth. So it's no surprise that people are actually talking about getting humans to Mars. This conversation actually started back in 1990 with the proposed idea of Mars Direct.
Hey. And Mars Direct was actually conceived by a team led by me and another engineer named David Baker at Martin Marietta, which became Lockheed Martin, in 1990 in response to the failure, or the imminent failure at that time, it hadn't quite failed yet, of the first President Bush's space exploration initiative, which was foundering based on sticker shock due to the 90-day report, which had postulated a 30-year program costing $400 billion and all sorts of exercises in infrastructure and technology developments before we could get to Mars.
This is Robert Zubrin, who is the founder and president of the Mars Society, and he proposed Mars Direct back in 1990 after the fail of SCI, or the Space Exploration Initiative, which President Bush proposed back in 1989. Mars Direct was the first real logical explanation that could get us to Mars in less than 10 years, and in the fraction of the cost of what NASA projected. Even President Obama agrees that Mars is a capable mission for us to do in the near future.
We want to leap into the future. We want major breakthroughs.
The president advocates sending astronauts on missions to asteroids by 2025 and to Mars orbit, not a landing, by around 2035. A spacecraft processing facility was filled with some very eminent supporters of the president's plan.
But there's a problem with his timeline because he's only in office for so long before somebody takes his position. An amazing documentary called The Mars Underground really goes into detail of the Mars Direct plan and how it is possible to get humans to Mars in a decade or less. I highly recommend you watch it. The links for all the videos in this video are down in the description below. Mars Direct isn't the only proposed mission.
Mars 1 will establish human settlement on Mars in 2023. In that year, the first group of 4 humans will land on Mars.
Yes, Mars 1 in all of its glory. This mission definitely has a different view on how to get people to Mars.
Mars 1 has designed a mission that is much simpler than previous designs for Mars missions. The most significant simplification is that the crew is actually going to stay and live on Mars with the intention to remain there for the rest of their lives.
That's right. The humans who would depart for Mars in 2026 would never return to Earth. It's a one-way ticket. What makes this mission even more insane is the fact that you could go to the Mars One website and actually apply to be one of those people to go on the mission. That's right, you can volunteer to eventually die on Mars. And their only qualification is that you have to be over 18. This is amazing. This all might seem a little bit insane, but shockingly people are actually applying. When they opened up their application, more than 200,000 people applied to be in the Mars mission. Now that projected cost of Mars One is roughly $6 billion. Now that may seem like a lot, but Mars One has found a way to help pay for the large expense.
Mars One is considering turning the video application process into a, you guessed it, reality TV show in order to offset the costs.
That's right, what better way to fund your project than making a show about yourself? Judging by the comments in the CNN report on YouTube, we found mixed reviews that are worth noting. I can already see lawsuits from family members as we watch those idiots die off one by one on live TV. Wouldn't it be funny if they sent them to Mars and one of them freaked out and killed everyone else? $6 billion death match. Look, my personal opinion is we will see a manned mission to Mars by 2050 without a doubt. if not our country, then by Russia. Russia is trying to compete with NASA's research and development by trying to get a manned mission to Mars by 2030. Multiple countries are working on getting manned missions going back to the moon before 2020. So, the interest of space exploration is definitely growing. But like the Apollo mission, I believe all it takes is a devoted government to get us to Mars in less than 10 years. Our society seems to constantly put this science for discovery and research of other planets on hold simply because it's not a pressing issue. It won't solve the deficit, it won't solve ISIS, and it won't solve the other issues that play out between our country and other countries. When we had a man land on the moon, the whole world stopped as we all listened in, and as humanity as a whole were amazed. Yes, it was in the middle of the Cold War, but it was still one of the greatest triumphs of mankind. Why can't we do that again? It's actually a very important subject because it will redefine mankind. Are we going to exist on multiple planets expanding our species, or are we just going to run our course here on Earth? So post in the comments down below on how you think the Mars mission will go. Also, if you want to see our show every Monday, take your mouse, drag it over to that subscribe button, and give it a nice slam. I'm McKenzie Beeby. Thanks for watching us this week. We will see you next Monday on the news itself.